So I don't normally do these kind of videos, but I figured because we haven't done a deck profile video in a couple of weeks, I'd bring you one today that's a casual deck, but I'm actually playing at locals and stuff. It's really fun. It's my own twist on zombies, especially utilizing some of the new cards that came out in Premium Gold Return of the Bling. I do want to preface this with the statement that this is not intended to be a Tier 1 or Tier 2 deck. Don't criticize it as though we're supposed to be ultra competitive because it's simply meant for fun, although I did go undefeated with it at locals my first time playing with it, so I thought why not make a video and showcase my own take on zombies using some of the new zombie support. Alright, check this deck out, guys. I'm going to go ahead and go through this relatively quickly because some of it's self-explanatory, some of it's not. For those of you unfamiliar with it, Premium Gold Return of the Bling brought forth the Underworld archetype, sort of, which came with a couple of new monsters, and when I was actually going through the openings and stuff, I happened to notice some of those cards, and I'm like, wow, it seems like there might be some potential there. So I tried to throw my own idea together, and this is not a finished product, but I have played and tested this deck a lot against multiple matchups, done pretty well, and I actually went undefeated with it at locals today, which doesn't really mean too much, but for a deck like this, in an area that uses a relatively competitive environment, my locals is mainly like Masked Heroes and Burning Abyss and stuff like that, I actually was pretty impressed by it. So let me go ahead and get into it. I played triple Unizombie. For those of you who aren't familiar with this card, it came out in Secrets of Eternity, and it's damn busted. Once per turn, you can discard a card, target a monster on the field, you can increase its level by 1. And then once per turn, you can target a face-up monster on the field. If you do, monsters you control except for zombies cannot attack for the rest of the turn. And then you can send a zombie-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use each of its effects once per turn. Doesn't matter. Card's broken. If you can open with it and get Mizuki in the graveyard, or cards that set up your combo pieces, it's so damn good. Not to mention, it's a tuner, and you can manipulate its levels or the levels of your opponent's monsters, which just makes it way too good not to play at 3. It combos particularly well with this. Oops, I put it down wrong, I apologize. Tristan, Knight of the Underworld. Those of you that watched the Premium Gold openings may have seen this. It does as follows. When it's normal summon, you can target a monster with 0 defense in your graveyard, add it to your hand. A zombie-type monster, rather. If you control another zombie, except this card gains 300 attack. Such a cool card. I love the potential of it. My favorite thing is once you really get going with the deck, you can recycle copies of this every turn. So if you make Exceeds or you do Zombie Master, summon this, add another copy of it from the graveyard to your hand. I did that consistently in some games against matchups where I was using Exceeds or trying to control the board slowly, and I never was without cards in my hand, which I'll get to a little bit later. I play triple Mizuki because you kind of have to. It's part of the reason the deck works so well. You can send it to the graveyard with Unizombie. You can discard it, you can Foolish Burial, you can do what the hell you want, but it's so powerful, especially with Unizombie and the ability to set up combos, especially early game. So I do prefer not to draw into it, and I'd rather mill it or be able to get it to the graveyard, but even if I do, some of the traps that I use and some of the monsters can make use of him, even Unizombie for that matter. I played 2 Bell, Isolde Bell of the Underworld. Now this card is good and bad at the same time. You can special summon it from your hand if you control Tristan, which is that Knight of the Underworld guy. But you cannot special summon it any other way, which is part of the reason it's kind of a hindrance. You can't summon it with Zombie Master and stuff like that. Now, if you do have it on the field, you can target it and another zombie-type monster, or up to 2 zombie-type monsters in general, declare a level from 5 to 8, and then make both of those monsters that level. However, if you do, you cannot special summon any monsters for the rest of the turn except zombies. Now, that's where this card comes in handy, which is number 22, Zombiestein. He's a zombie, you make rank 8, you can set him up, especially if you get him out first turn, for some pretty cool plays. I like the fact that there's a practical use for him. I like the fact that you can summon Tristan, add her to the hand, and special summon her. What I don't like is the fact that she's very, very inconsistent if she's in the graveyard, and you need to make some kind of loop, and you can't do it because she can't be special summoned. However, that's the reason I'm playing 3 and not 2, because at 2 it seems to work pretty well. I'm playing 1 Card Trooper, kind of toying around with it because you don't necessarily need it, but I like the fact that if I draw it early game, I can speed it up. Now, the deck also uses Call the Haunted, especially because it does have its uses, obviously. So Card Trooper is one of those cards that I do like to run if I'm running Call the Haunted and have the space, just because if MST is running rampant, I can chain it and get that draw and make it so I'm not losing out as much. I play 2 Zombie Master. You could play 3. I might even go as far as to recommend that you do play 3, but I'm kind of tossing 2 around right now with 1 just off to the side because I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. It can be a dead draw, but once you get going in the game, you really can recycle this with your Mizukis and other stuff, so you don't necessarily need a 3rd copy. That's not to say that playing a 3rd copy is not a good idea, but it's really up to your own preference if you want to try something like this. And the last one is the single copy of Ghost Sharon, the Underworld Boatman. This card kind of sucks. The only reason I play it is because, one, you can utilize it pretty effectively if you top deck it, summon it, and then you can use it to synchro summon the dragon guy, which we'll get to in a minute when I get to the extra deck. But he is a tuner, he is decent. I don't like the fact that he's got no real practical effects outside of that, so it's cool. Definitely, cool art and whatnot, but as a card, it's not that good, and I only play one simply because of the combos it can enable. I got to do some more playtesting and definitely figure out if there's some more effective ways to make use of that, but it just does synchronize well with the archetype as a one-of. As far as spells go, 2 MST. I feel like Vanities and stuff got hit. Some decks aren't even playing MST at all. I do obviously still get hindered by Vanities, Macro, Defissure, etc. A lot of Floodgates hurt this deck, so I can't not play it. So I main 2, and I put the 3rd copy in the side because it lets me get around that stuff. 2 Dark Hole. I kind of like Regeki better. I just don't have any at the moment. Dark Hole's decent. It's not a bad card. It's much more effective in Yosenju and stuff. But at least I don't really mind my stuff going to the graveyard sometimes because it's pretty easy to get it back, so it's not too bad to have it. Now, one of the few cards I don't have in this deck that I do want to get in here eventually is Recurring Nightmare, which is a really good card, and I'll put a little picture of it up there for those of you unfamiliar with it. Basically, it's like a Gravekeeper's Stellar, a salvage, but for monsters with 0 defense. Almost everything in my deck is a valid target for it, so it sets up some really cool pluses, and I actually bought a couple copies of it online. I'm just waiting for it to come in, and then I'm going to go ahead and probably drop a Dark Hole in one of something else, because I'm at exactly 40 right now. So, as of right now, I play 2 Dark Hole, but you definitely got to get the Recurring Nightmares in there if you want to play this this variant of the zombie deck. So, 1 Allure of Darkness, good card. It does combo well with Burial, actually, which I'll put right there. I can banish stuff. I have stuff banished a lot, so this card is really good with Mizuki and stuff later in the game. I got plenty of stuff I don't mind banishing, so Allure's good, speeds up the deck a little bit. Foolish Burial, another good card. The earlier you get it, the better, because it works well with Mizuki. Book of Life, I only play it at 1 because I do play Call of the Haunted. The only thing about Book of Life is that you can't use it on the first turn, and it's kind of reliant on your opponent having a monster in the graveyard, but it is a spell, so it's faster too, which is why I like it at 1, but I wouldn't play it any higher than that, I don't think. Veil of Darkness is a random one that I actually just started playing with, and this is kind of like Heart of the Underdog. During your draw phase, if you draw a dark monster, you can reveal any number of them, send them to the graveyard, then you can draw 1 card. So you can keep doing this if you do draw a lot of darks, kind of speed up your graveyard, fill up your graveyard rather, thin the deck, and continue to draw. Problem with it is, it's kind of inconsistent, and it can be kind of a dead draw. But a lot of people aren't playing MST right now because stuff like Cliff Forts got hit, so it doesn't get hit as often as it would have been before. I can definitely understand if you don't want to play it, I'm only trying it at 1, but so far, when I do draw into it, it's been useful at speeding up the deck. If I do have to make cuts, it'll definitely be one of the first ones to go. So this is kind of just like a funny tech, and I don't even know if I'd advise playing it, but play 1 Polymerization. I can spam the field quite a lot, and it works really well because you got this guy here. This is Draco Negro Nether Soul Dragon. He's a fusion made with 2 zombie types. He's 3,000. He's got a lot of power. I'm not going to go into too much detail on his effects specifically. Polymerization's good. Dragon's Mirror is probably better if you're going to play a card to fusion summon him. Dragon's Mirror is the one that lets you banish from the graveyard, and because he is dragon type and only needs 2 zombies, he's easy to summon. The only thing about Dragon's Mirror is it's a little bit pricey, and for the copies that aren't pricey, they're kind of hard to find. So, a buddy of mine suggested trying Polymerization, seeing how well that works. That's what I'm doing. It's kind of a dead draw, honestly, but there are some scenarios which I've used it. It's definitely not recommended. If you can get your hands on Dragon's Mirror, play a single copy of that rather than Polymerization. But right now, I'm just kind of playing with this on a casual level, so I'm not too worried about it. Definitely swap that with a Dragon's Mirror. That's the kid. Treat that as though that's what it was. Alright, so Traps, Double Mirror Force, good card. Normally I wouldn't play a lot of Traps and Zombies, but this build's different, and I really play more Traps than anything else because I need that control element, so awesome. Mirror Force hits Yosenju, it hits Necros, hits plenty of stuff. Really useful for what it does. Double Mind Crush. Great card right now. Hits almost everything. Combos especially well with Crush Guard Virus, which is got at least like 4 or 5 targets in this deck, and I never have a problem with it not being live. So any combination of these 3 cards on the first turn or early game at all can really swing the game in your favor, especially against matchups in which you have a lot of problems. Double Karma Cut. Could play Phoenix Wing instead. The really only reason I like Karma Cut is because if you use it against stuff like Yang Zing or Burning Abyss, you're going to hit stuff that's in the graveyard too. I guess technically heroes too with Shadow Mist, so I feel like Karma Cut does a little bit more damage right now, but this is useful in here because I want stuff in my graveyard. I want to discard Mizuki, I want to do that, and if I do discard stuff, I can just use Tristan to get it back, so it's not like I'm losing all the hand advantage. I can pretty much cycle through stuff, especially with Recurring Nightmare, so that I always have extra stuff in my hand that I can pitch for this, which is why it's such a useful card right now. Double Call the Haunted. I mean, zombies are about revival. Mizuki does a lot of reviving on its own, but the ability to flip a Call the Haunted, bring back Zombie Master, and then cycle through some plays from there, or Unizombie for that matter, which it pretty much can win games on its own if you get the right setup, just makes it way too good not to play. Compulse. Self-explanatory. Torrential, decent, not great. I often side it out, actually. It's pretty much one of the first cards I go to side out. It's useful for what it does, but, I mean, it just, against some matchups, I don't really need it so much. Solemn Warning, it's pretty good. I don't really have any other life point cards in here, so it doesn't really hurt me. Single Vanity's Emptiness, I've questioned whether or not it's even worth it, because obviously I special summon a lot, but if you use it right, it definitely works. One of the things that I did in I won a couple of games, actually, when I did play with this deck at Locals for the first time, was the combo with Master Key Beetle in this, and Key Beetle's so easy to make in this deck. I probably wouldn't play Vanities at 3 in here if it was at 3 still. Obviously, it's not. But at 1, it's kind of neat. And again, it's one of the cards I side out more often than not, but it's decent to have for game, those rogue matchups or matchups against Yang Zing, which this deck kind of does struggle against because they're constantly putting field presence on the board. Single Ring of Destruction, good card. I'm sort of on the fence about it right now as far as its placement goes. It's a consistent staple because some decks I think can make more use of it than others, but I've been playing around with it and it's pretty good. Again, one of the cards I side out more often than not. When I do side out, it's like Torrential, Vanities, this, and some other stuff. So if that gives you any idea of stuff that I might consider excluding, that's definitely that. And Bottomless Trap Hole makes it an even 40. So the deck lineup is a little bit rough right now. There's certainly cards in there like Veil, Polymerization, and stuff that I want to take out, that I want to replace with better stuff. So I can tell you that from testing, and I can tell you that from, just knowledge of the game, but I did leave them in there just for the sake of kind of explaining why they don't work and explaining why I want to make those changes. So as far as the extra deck goes, I mean, Zombie Stein's good. A lot of rank 4s, Laval Chain, Silent Honor Arc, Abyss Dweller, Rhapsody, Diamond Dyer, Cowboy, that. I could play more Synchros, rather. I mean, I have Yahtzee and I have Black Rose, both of which are 7s. You can make Leo too. Unizombie's level manipulation thing is such an effective tool, so you can toy around with some Synchros, probably decrease the rank 4 lineup a little bit. I do play one copy of him. The card's really good. And of course Stardust Dragon as well. Just because I don't have a Spark, I'd probably play Stardust Spark over this, honestly. And then I play 2 copies of this guy. Now, the only reason I play 2 of him is because he's easy to make if you get a Stardust out. I can do all sorts of loops with Unizombie. It's not difficult. But then you don't have that copy anymore. And if you draw into Sharon, which is the Ghost Boat guy, you can summon him, banish him, and the Fusion Monster from the graveyard to special summon this. The only reason I run him is to have a second copy. I never Synchro summon into 2 of these, but it's just worth it to have because you can top deck that and make an interesting push per game utilizing that. That card, so that's why I play it. You don't necessarily need to play 2. If you're confident enough that you can do other things, then by all means go ahead and do that. And my side deck is a work in progress, I'll preface that, but I'll just show you what I got so far. There's a Book of Moon, Mirror Force. Book of Moon's good, it does a lot against Burning Abyss, but against other decks it doesn't do too much, so I put it in the side just to have space. The third Mirror Force I generally just side in against Yosenju and Necroz. 2 Banisher of the Radiance, it does kind of hurt me, but if you look at it in the essence of like Vanities and stuff, playing this against Yang Zing especially, which I face quite often, and anything else like Burning Abyss that's relying on the graveyard, it's just a good card. I can't play Macro, it hurts me too much. At least this is a monster that I can Synchro with if I had to. 2 Imperial Iron Wall, just side that against Yang Zing, but it hurts me too because of Mizuki, so most of the time I don't end up using it, but there are some games in which I'll modify the numbers of Mizukis and try to modify when I'm using this, because stuff that is reliant on banishing is definitely going to be important. And I don't know why I just said Yang Zing when I meant was Necroz. This is a decent side card against Necroz. It stops them from banishing. So, 2 Effect Veiler, really good against Yosenju to an extent, and of course some other stuff. Necroz, if you can hit that Senju, that Manju earlier game, it's pretty good, even though it can become somewhat of a dead draw. 2 Royal Decree. I don't play this often, but there are some matchups which I'll take out a lot of my traps and switch things around and basically just play a totally different style of game. So in that case, having Decree is more like what the older zombie decks were like when they were more turbo. Single MST, I play 2 in the main, like I said, but this one I just sided in for decks that are Floodgate heavy. 1 Starlight Road. Now, this is interesting. It's more of a personal tech choice than anything else because I want to put shared rides in here as well. But Starlight Road, I feel like Dark Hole is seeing a lot of play right now. So is Regeki, and there's other stuff that pops multiple cards too. So if I'm encountering against a deck that does play all those Dark Holes and stuff, when I have so many monsters on the field all the time, this is a card that I just feel like is gonna do something to really turn that around and stop me from getting hit like that. So I haven't really had a chance to play test with it much. That's why it's in the side deck. But it's definitely a neat idea, and I'm interested to see where that goes. And of course, the other Veil of Darkness, that's going to come out. Right now, it's just a placeholder. Like I said, I'm waiting on those recurring nightmares to come in as well. I just purchased some. So the deck's going to be a little bit different when I do get those and when I can change that around. But I basically just wanted to get the idea out there and see if anybody else had their own ideas of zombie variants, because I find the deck to be a lot of fun, and I had a lot of good matchups against a lot of decks. I actually won all of my games in 2. Except for 1. So it definitely wasn't like a slow matchup or anything. But again, obviously the deck has flaws, and there's some cards in it like Polymerization and stuff that probably shouldn't be in there. So it's a lot of room for improvement. I'd love to hear you guys' suggestions, see what you think. If you enjoyed the deck profile video, and try to do those deck profile videos every once in a while for the channel. So thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to click the Pokeball in the upper lower right-hand corner now, to subscribe for more awesome entertainment-related videos. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching. You'll notice this screen here has a bunch of annotations and links you can click to navigate your way around the channel. Click the pictures of the video games to check out some of the Let's Plays. Click the YuGiOh logo to check out some of our pack openings. Click the weekly giveaway button to see our Pokemon opening videos in which we give away free TCG online codes, and click the subscribe button to, well, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time at Loveshack Entertainment.